All set?
Yep.
Hello, my name is Terry Sweat. I'm an instructor here at the Lighthouse. I'm going to be talking today about balance and fitness, more specifically, mostly balance, because without balance, we're not going to get up and do anything. So it's where all physical activity begins. It's what helps you move through your environment and your home safely. Now, last week, I know we discussed safety in the home. So now that we're all doing what we should be doing, we've decluttered and we've organized our entire house since we've been at home all day. We need to start working on our balance so that we can move freely and easily about our house now that it is arranged for us. And we don't have to have any fear of falling and getting injured or losing our balance. So the first thing I want to talk about is that there are three components of balance. The first is your vision, and this is the one that everyone here is having difficulty with. The second is the ability to feel your feet and sense where your body is in space. So that kind of means, like, if you're walking, you don't normally look at your feet. You just know your feet are down there, and as you're walking and looking, you see a hill coming, you know you're going to have to raise your foot a little higher. You don't have to look at where you're walking. That is also true of your hands. When you take a drink, you just bring it to your mouth. And then the third thing is the capacity to tell if you're really moving through space. So are you moving? Or, you know, some people have some cognitive issues or other things where they may think they're moving, but maybe they're falling. So as far as that goes, we're gonna start this off by thinking of a baby. How do babies balance? You know, they start off with maybe getting up on their elbows, and then they learn that they can kind of rock and roll over. Then they start to learn to sit, but they need their hands for support. Then they reach for something. Now they're using one hand. Then they use both hands. Then they start to realize, hey, I can stand if I pull up on this. So they pull up, and they're using two hands, and they're rocking back and forth, working on balance. And then they start to, you know, trail along the furniture. Maybe they let go with one hand, and eventually they let go altogether and start walking. Now, does that mean that they've mastered everything? No. Sometimes they fall. But you know, sometimes now that you have some vision loss, maybe you feel like one of those babies that's, you know, stumbling around trying to find their way. And somewhere along that timeline, you may feel like it's just trial and error. And it is. You might be fearful. And, you know, that's a good thing to have just to be safe, but we don't want to be fearful in our own homes. So that's why this is the progression that I kind of want you to think about when we're talking about balance exercise, is to go slow, to master one part of the balance, and then progress to the next. So if you're holding on the table with two hands, maybe the next time you only use one, maybe fingertips, and then you're able to balance without using your hands. And again, does the baby need to have vision to do this? No. There's plenty of people that are born blind, and they learn to walk and get around their environments and go out in the community. So if they can do it, so can you. And you're going to be doing it again. So this time it's a conscious effort, and you already know how. It's just a matter of practice to get good at it. So as I said, vision is only one aspect of balance. So even with limited or no vision, there are ways to develop your balance and mobility. And actually, if you attend any kind of advanced training for balance, they suggest that you do the exercises with your eyes closed. So I kind of want to say there's no excuse. But that shows that you don't always have to rely on your vision, and that you can practice and improve. Okay? The next thing is your core strength. So that's a key for your standing balance, but also for sitting balance. If you're unable to walk, because as we age, we have other conditions. Some people have, you know, arthritis and different things, and maybe they sit more during the day. But we don't want to be static and just sit. So there are exercises to improve your core strength, because even balance, leaning over to grab the remote off the floor or something like that is going to challenge your balance, and you don't want to fall off of the chair you're sitting on. So today, I think I'm going to open this up in a minute. Part of the reason we really want to have good core strength and balance is because there's always going to be an unexpected dip in the pavement, or maybe you're just up to the grass and don't know, and you step on it and you stumble a little bit. You want to be able to recover from that and not fall. So that's where our balance comes in, and that's why we need to work on it. We're always reaching while we're standing, while we're sitting, doing everyday activities. Could be something as simple as unplugging the vacuum from the wall, or sitting on the bed unsupported and you're putting on your clothes. You don't want to tip over when you're doing that. So there are exercises, and I think Maddie did the chair yoga in one of the first weeks we were here, and that's a good way to challenge your balance also, in sitting. So if you are only able to sit, you still want to work on your balance, but you want to do that carefully, and you can do some of the exercises she did with the raising the arms to the side, overhead, all those kind of things. And there are videos on that on visionaware.org, and other websites. You can Google them. And basically, it'll help you with your trunk balance. So you're wanting to lean side to side, front to back, twisting, keeping your core nice and strong. But the focus I'm going to work on today is more lower body with the actual walking and getting your lower body prepared for all these mobility exercises. So the other thing is that if you're interested in taking orientation and mobility training with the white cane, that is something you're going to have balance for, because as you remember, the mobility cane is to give you information from your environment several feet ahead of you. It's not for support. So if you're going to take orientation and mobility training, you have to be able to stand upright and walk. So I want to open this up for discussion right now and ask everybody, other than as we age, we get more uncoordinated and sometimes lose our balance, trip over things, misjudge things. But I want to know how your vision changes have affected your balance, and in what type of situations have you found that your vision is really a hindrance to you? Are you unmuting everybody, Maddie?
Everyone is unmuted, so you can participate in the conversation.
Does anybody want to share?
Pam.
I do.
Okay.
So I can see another loop in my vision a little. That has something to do. I guess it's still I start losing my balance more as I start losing my vision. So I can see where people come from when they say, "Oh, my vision has problems with my balance problem." I can see where that comes in that also.
Right. We rely on our vision a lot for balance.
Yeah.
Looking at that horizon, looking ahead of us. But like I said earlier, you don't have to have your vision to have good balance. You might have to practice. And unfortunately, when you're losing your vision and you're feeling unsure of yourself and your balance, you're going to be fearful and not want to do anything. So you're going to move even less, and your balance is going to become even worse. So anyone else?
This is Pam. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. I find I have a real difficulty with my depth perception.
Right.
Since I've lost some of my eyesight. Truly, the main reason I had to quit driving so early is because I couldn't tell how close I was to somebody or in front of me. Any tips for depth perception?
Well, as far as mobility goes, yes, you're not going to be driving. That's a little dangerous. But as far as navigating your house, I think some of the techniques Matt and Latricia were talking about on knowing the layout of your room. We talked in organization about decluttering. And of course, if you are able to use a white cane, that will let you know ahead of time if something is in your path.
I know the one thing I did pick up from them, Latricia, I don't remember which one it was. Anyways, using my hands in front of my face or my stomach so that it bumps into my hands before I bump into it, the wall or whatever it is. Now
Right.
that helps me.
That's
And
a
so-
protective extension, protective,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I should know what that's called, but I don't.
Those are the upper and lower protective techniques, Pam.
Yeah, now that really has helped me.
Also
It's
say
just
with depth perception, also, adding some contrast, particularly in your home, on steps where you may use tape, to show that contrast as it relates to the difference. That can also help as it relates to your depth perception.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
mine
We talked
like,
about that last week also, or yeah, I think in the home safety is if you have patterned rugs, that's going to be a little more visually overstimulating than the solid. So the contrast, but also, try and minimize the patterns with your flooring.
I have some good rubberized backed rugs because all my tile throughout all my house is the same cream color.
Right.
And so when I'm coming to a step down or something, I have a dark colored rubberized mat that tells me, be ready. So, okay. Yeah, my lower back is so weak. I can't walk long. And it's all been since I was so ill there in 2016. And I've never quite gotten it back. And so I do, but I don't do as well as I'd like for me to do.
This is Julia.
Anyone else? Julia? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, a little over a year ago, I was out walking and didn't realize how hot it was and that I should have had a little more liquid or, something to drink with me. And the heat got to me and I fell and fractured my spine.
Oh,
Now, I've come a long way because for a while there, I didn't think I'd ever walk again. However, what I want to say is when you're doing all of these other things, exercising and balancing and walking and whatever, you still have to keep track of your physical. You can't go out and run around a block if you're able to in the hot sun. You have to realize if you can't see what time it is, ask somebody or limit things or take, you have to have other, you have to watch all of the other things that are going on, not just concentrating on your vision or, balancing if you fall.
that's a very good point. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's about all I can, add to
Right.
it. But
That's a very
don't
good
give
point,
up
though.
hope.
We need to stay hydrated, and if you are going out for a walk and don't walk as far as you can and then realize, oh, now I got to get back. Figure out how much time you want to spend walking. Set a timer for half of that. So in 10 minutes, I'm going to turn around and come back. Don't set out to go way around the block first. Just set a timer, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is you're going to do. And then when you come back, that'll be your other 10 minutes. So,
True. And the other thing that I want to say is physical therapy may seem like, a big deal or something else. And you don't have to go into it forever and, a day. But I mean, if you feel that you are having more trouble with your balance or you notice yourself falling or trouble getting up from the chair,
Frank Daniels at 12:08 p.m.
go and have some physical therapy.
that's right. Speak to your doctor. If you're having a lot of balance issues, and that was something I was going to bring up, is that you really you can get an order for occupational therapy or physical therapy and work on balance due to your low vision. So that is definitely something you'd want to look into, not just, trying to do it all on your own. You can go for, like she said, just a limited amount of time. They'll give you homework to do, give you exercises to do, like we're going to talk about today. But it can be tailored to you. So if you have other issues, they can work around it, and they're going to know best how to do that for you. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else have a comment?
Terry, this is Melissa. The only comment I would add is a couple of people have mentioned recently that they have trouble with balance after nights that they have not slept well. So, sometimes people will experience with vision loss, non-24, or I just were in a stressful time and not sleeping. So I guess my advice would be to be mindful when you've not slept and be careful how much activity you do, because that can impact your balance and ability to navigate.
Correct. Thank you. Thanks for saying that. That's a very good point.
This is Amy.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make a comment. I did seem to have more problem with the balance before I got my mobility cane. It seems now when I have the mobility cane, I seem to be walking better outside anyway.
Well,
and I don't know any problem inside. So
good. Well, maybe Latricia or Maddie, you can talk about that, why that might be.
Lighthouse, like every week they have Monday.
I wasn't sure if Latricia was going to jump in, but yeah, Amy, I definitely think that just from working with you that you do walk a little bit easier. I call the cane, and maybe this is odd, but I call it a kangaroo tail, because if you know anything about a kangaroo, it uses its tail for balance and support. And I think that just having that extra contact with the earth can provide you with that kind of proprioceptive or like mechanical information about getting, where you are in space.
yeah, I think so. And I don't have to worry about tripping over things.
Well, you got that right. Yeah, you're a little more trusting in your footfalls, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Patty.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, I was walking in the parking lot, going into a store with my daughter and her two girls. Was walking with one of the girls, and I stepped in a big hole that was in the pavement, caught myself, but I nearly fell. And I don't want that to happen again. I have to walk with a cane for other reasons than sight, so it isn't a sight cane, so I can't feel out in front of me what's going on too well. And usually I have my husband I'm on my husband's arm, and he helps me through that sort of thing. But is there training or something on how to not step in these holes?
Yeah, that would be a cane, Patty. I think that, if you are someone who's unsure of your feet when you're walking forward, but other than that, you don't have too much of an issue. I think a cane is a great option.
Okay.
Once you throw in some balance problems or you're using a walker, we kind of have to look at different things. But yeah, definitely, I think a cane could be helpful for that. It's meant to clear your pathway, a few steps ahead of you.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. If you have suddenly been muted, if I notice that there's noise going on in the background, it can be distracting on the audio, so I do mute you. It's I'm not trying to offend anybody. All right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and mute everybody else and get started on the next section. If you have a question, save it for the next segment, I guess.
All right, Terry, you can unmute yourself there.
Okay. All right, so like I said, I'm going to show you a video. My lovely daughter did some exercises for me last night, so she'll be on the video. But first we need to think about a few terms, and they're related to balance, but also to just your general health. So your posture. So when you're standing, you really need to be standing upright, you know, chin, you know, level, looking forward. Before you lost your eyesight, or some of you that might have never had sight, I mean, do you look down at your feet? You probably don't. You look ahead. So that's what we want to continue to do, because we were talking about that proprioception, where your feet you know where your feet are. You don't have to look at them. But when you do try to look at them, you're now changing your center of gravity, which is the next term I'm going to talk about. Is your posture and your base of support is basically where your center of gravity comes together. You want your body up over your skeleton. You don't want it too far forward, too far to the side, because that's all going to throw off your balance and make you walk with a different type of gait that can cause you problems and trip and fall. And your base of support is basically your feet. And if you use a walker, that helps with your base of support. But what we're going to talk about is balance, and we're not going to be using those type of things because people tend to use them incorrectly. And that's why I want you to have a table or something in front of you instead. But basically, your base of support is your feet. So your feet, if they're really close together, you're going to be walking a tightrope and kind of off balance. So keep your feet a little bit further apart. When you're standing somewhere, you want to stand with your feet a little more apart than that, so that you have a good solid base and you're able to move back and forth by shifting your weight. The next one is body mechanics. So basically, it's not going outside of that base of support. So if you're standing with your feet close together and you reach off to the side, you could end up tripping or falling over, losing your balance. If your feet are wider, you can reach that same distance and not fall. But all of us have done this, and I know I've done it. You've been on a ladder, you reach a little further, oh, I can get it. You know, you're hanging your pictures or your Christmas lights or whatever, and there you go falling down. So that's your body mechanics. You want to stand close to whatever it is you're doing. So if you can be right in front of it, that's optimal. But if you're doing things a little bit to the side, just stand a little wider, and that way you can shift your weight and, you know, scoot sideways if you need to. The last thing I want to talk about is range of motion. And while some people don't know that that's the most important thing, but really, if your joints are stiff and you're sitting and you're not active because you're fearful, because you have low vision, it's all kind of a domino effect. But you can do stretches seated in your chair, standing, anything like that. So I'm not going to get into stretching today, but I think to keep the mobility in your joints is very important, especially with balance, because like I said, if there's a dip in the pavement or a change in the terrain and you start to fall, the fact that you have nice mobile joints, you'll be able to react. If your core is strong, you'll be able to protect yourself and pull yourself back the other direction, and then you're not on the floor. The next thing I want to talk about is other medical conditions. As we age, we all have different issues. You could have a condition like COPD, or maybe cardiac issues, and maybe even your eye conditions could become more complicated or worse with pushing, pulling, and straining, reaching, or possibly even bending over. So this includes exercises and stretching. So you want to make sure that you have your doctor's okay before beginning any activity. And with a visual impairment, when you're trying something new, it's best to do that supervised. So have a family member or a friend with you, and let them know you want to practice some of these things. So like I said, in the video, I'm going to focus on examples of things you can do with your lower body to work on your balance. And there's a lot of things where you can incorporate your arms, and if you're only seated, like I said, reaching side to side, there's other videos on that. But we're gonna focus on just the lower body at the moment. So I'm gonna play the video, and as you're watching the video, I want you to think about if you could incorporate, I mean, this is gonna be like an exercise routine, but how can you incorporate maybe that movement into your daily activities? Okay, so I'm gonna try and get the video up here. Let's cross our fingers and see if I can share it. Okay, here we go. Hello everybody, this is my lovely daughter who's here to assist me. We're gonna show you some exercises and have you follow along if you can. What I would like you to do is to sit at a sturdy table, like your dining room table, with a sturdy chair with or without arms, and definitely without wheels. So make sure it will not roll. And we do not want to use a walker or a cane or anything else for this session. If you feel like you can't stand or you don't have someone nearby to supervise, then just stay seated and listen. Okay. So first, the first thing we have to do is make sure that our posture is correct. We want to sit up nice and tall, want to look forward, our chin is level, and our feet are flat on the floor, about 8 inches apart. Okay? So we're going to teach you the proper way to stand, from seated to standing, so that you don't lose your balance. First, you're going to scoot to the edge of your chair with your hands and scoot your bottom to the front of the chair. And then you're going to have your feet slightly behind your knees. You're going to rock forward, and as you do so, push with your hands and your legs, nose over your toes, and lean upwards, and then balance with the table. We don't want to pull up on the table because that's not sturdy. We want to always push off and sit down using the chair. This is something that you can also do, Morgan. You can go ahead and do a few of those for me, if you will. And I'm going to let you know that you can do this for balance, but it's also for strengthening. So as you're doing this, you can use this as your exercise. You can strengthen those legs. Get that muscle memory going so that when you do stand, you have good balance. And it can also work on endurance, because the more of these you do, the more your heart rate goes up, and take breaks as needed. All right, go ahead and stand up. And the next one, we're going to work on the legs. So we're going to march in place, actually. So I want you to go very slowly, lift one leg and put it back down, and the other, remembering to keep your feet slightly apart. Just going to turn here so we can see better. So up slow and down. We're working on balance, not on cardio. So we want to definitely go nice and slow, up and down. She's holding onto the table for stability. As you advance, you might be able to let go. Okay, now we want to lift and hold it for 5 seconds. And then the other. So we warmed up, now we're holding it for 5 seconds. To advance, you'll start trying to hold that for 10 seconds, and then next maybe letting go. All right, now I want you to face the table. This next one, we're just going to give a slight bend in the knees, keeping your feet again 8 inches or so apart, shoulder width. And you're going to sway, bending your knee a little bit, back and forth. Just holding onto the table for support. Eventually, as you get better with your balance, you might be able to lift one hand, or then use no hands. But then you always have your chair and your table there in case you feel unsteady. All right, so now hold the table again, and we're going to start moving our feet a little bit while we're swaying, kind of like the cha-cha-cha or a salsa. So a few little baby steps as you're swaying, forward and back. Very good. Doesn't have to be big. We're just trying to be a little bit off balance. We're challenging our balance and warming up. Okay, next one. We're going to stand with our feet in a position, and we're going to rock up on our toes. So tiptoes and then flat. Tiptoe and flat. Okay, and normally we would do these 10 times, but we're going to cut it a little short just to show you. And then we're going to rock back on our heels this time with toes up. Heels back, toes up. Okay, and we'll do that 10 times, and then we're going to go to alternating. So up on the toes, flat. Rock back on the heels, flat. Up on the toes, flat. Heels, flat. Okay, so for this, once you start getting to where you can do that pretty well, you're going to advance yourself by bringing your feet closer together, or maybe putting a balance disc or a foam mat under your feet for a little altered surface. It makes it a little more challenging. All right, we're going to move on to the hips. If you're ever getting tired and need to sit, just go ahead and have a seat. We're going to circle the hips like doing a hula. So again, a slight bend in the knee, and we're going to circle around to the right and the left, alternating after about 5 circles. And then the other direction. She's holding onto the table for stability. As you get more comfortable, you'll be able to let go, or maybe start with one hand. Okay. The next one, we're going to do a little belly dancing. We're going to do a hip hike. So if you can face forward, Morgan, you can have a table there. You can always use the chair for additional support on the other side. And then we're going to just stand on one leg and hike the other hip. We don't even have to take your foot up off the ground. Up and down on one side, and then you're going to switch and do the other side. Okay. All right, good. Okay, the next one is we're going to stand on one leg, and then we're going to tap. Front, in, side, in, back, in. Now this is a little more advanced, so if you need to start by just doing several front toe taps and taking a break, you can do several side taps and take a break, and then do back ones and take a break. She's doing them in conjunction all together. Okay, very good. Okay, I would like everybody to have a seat. And this very last one is actually going to be working on steps. I don't want anyone to do this while we are on video. We really need to have supervision for this. So I'm going to have Morgan stand, and she will show you what I'm talking about. Basically, you will find either a step on your porch, maybe a step into your house from the garage, something like that, and hold on to a railing or hold on to the door frame. And the first beginning step is going to just be a tap step. So you're going to raise your leg, tap the step, and then put your foot back down on the floor. Want to make sure that your foot is all the way up on that step so that you build good muscle memory, so that you don't hit the edge of the step by accident and then have a fall. So you're going to do that maybe 10 times on one leg and then alternate to the other leg.
Also, Pat Karen, what's going on these days? Just like any.
Okay, and then as an advance, once you feel comfortable standing like that, we can then do an up step. So I don't want you to do this on a stool, but you can step up and back down. Never putting the second foot up on the step, just up and down. You'll be holding onto a railing or the door frame, and then your alternate legs. And the final advanced step would be you step up on the step, go all the way back, both feet up, and then one foot down, the other foot down. So I'd like to thank Morgan for her help.
My pleasure.
Is that it?
Thanks, Morgan.
Yeah, that did a little arm twisting there, but. All right, so the last part of our session here today, I have a couple, it's going to be kind of interactive. To summarize, basically, we're only missing one component of balance, your vision, which I know seems like the most important, but we need to learn to maintain our balance and our protective reaction reflexes. And these can be learned with practice, with the balance exercises, trunk exercises, and normally you would be incorporating your arms as well, doing some bending and things like that, but that's for another day. And also, I want you to start where you're comfortable in the balance process. If that's sitting, that's perfectly fine. Work on your sitting balance, because if you can't walk that often, you are sitting and you are doing things, bending over, reaching for things, and you don't want to fall out of your chair or fall out of your bed or anything like that. So you're bending over to put on shoes and pants and things like that. We want to be safe. Also, you can, like I said, start where you're comfortable, sitting or standing. And then, as we kind of mentioned throughout the video, ways to make it a little more challenging, which kind of follows the baby that we talked about earlier, is, okay, I'm rocking, you're swaying. Then you're, pulling up and standing up, and then with two hands on something. Then you're letting go of one hand. Then you let go altogether. And then the next steps would be a balance disc or a foam pad that you stand on that alters your balance so that it's not super hard and just stable. It's a little more unstable, and that's how you work forward. And like I said in the beginning, the advanced balance is they want you to close your eyes. So once you've mastered a lot of that, you should be able to navigate your environment pretty easily. Okay, so I just want to show you real quick a picture of some of the balance. Well, I don't know if I can get to it. The balance discs. You've probably seen them. People use them to work out. And if you've had any physical therapy, you've seen the square foam mats that I'm talking about. They're probably like 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet square, and they're about 2 inches thick, and they're like a memory foam. And that kind of gives you a little bit of an altered surface. So it challenges your balance for those reactions that we were talking about. Like if you have a little misfooting, you can still straighten yourself back up. And that leads me to something I wanted to mention also, is that when we were talking about that, to have a slight little bend in your knee as you're standing or moving about your environment, because if you're totally locked and something happens, you're going down. You don't have that spring in your step to shift your weight. So that's a very important part of this. And then Maddie, I'm gonna, who's gonna do all these exercises and routine? I'm sorry, but I am the worst patient, because when I am given physical therapy, I don't do the exercises at home always. It's, I'll do it later, and then later never comes. So who's actually going to sit and do a whole routine? Probably nobody, unless you're, you play by the letter of what the doctor says all the time, but not me. So I want to open it up and ask you, like I told you before the video, to think about some of the movements that we were doing and how you could incorporate them into your daily lives, doing the things you're already doing. So to be a little mindful of, okay, I'm standing here at the sink washing dishes. Okay, I'm going to keep my base of support a little wider. I'm going to sway back and forth while I'm doing dishes. Let's open it up and see if anyone else can think of any ways in their own lives that they could maybe incorporate some of those movements.
Hey, Maddie, this is Sandy.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi. I really can't see well at all, and I can't see, I don't have the ability to see your video, even if I had the video set up. But I will say I am an avid I do it every day. I find the time and I do it. And you know, it really boosts. It just boosts my life. You know, it just gives me pleasure.
I didn't hear what you said you did.
Oh, I exercise every day.
Oh,
I
great.
just
Great.
have made it.
Okay.
Have made it that I have made it that way since I was 20 years of age. Now I'm 63, and with the horrible vision, 'cause like I said, I couldn't see your video. Even if I had the video, you know, in front of me, I wouldn't be able to see it. But I find that the exercise does help me stimulate my brain. I forget about my eyesight for a while, if you know what I mean. So I would strongly encourage anybody to try to do a little routine, whatever it is they can, every day for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that brings the point that, you know, basically if you're not moving and because you're fearful or, you know, you're afraid to start any kind of activity, some of these little movements you can just do like I was saying, you know,
Right.
on your tiptoes and hold on to something and lean back a little bit. You know, anything's going to help you, but the whole point of the proprioception and knowing where your feet are and things like that, it's signaling to your brain where your body is in space. So if you're not practicing that, it's going to be something that's, you know, use it or lose it. So your balance will get worse. But you just need to incorporate, you know, safety and making sure that you're practicing some balance or some exercise to keep your muscles and your joints strong so that you can do whatever it is you need to do. Does anyone else have any ideas how you could maybe incorporate some balance exercises into your daily routine?
You can do.
Well, I find when I take things out of the laundry room and go to put them away, I've made myself march, pick my knees up where I'm actually marching.
That's very good.
And when you're around the house doing anything, even sitting down
Yeah, he's
watching
doing
the
exercise.
news or anything, you can, while you're sitting, do your up on your toes and down flat and pick the heels up. Now,
Right.
it's not lifting all the weight, but it's keeping them limber.
It is, you're right. You need to keep the joints mobile and strong so that when you go to stand, they don't give out. And sitting is perfectly fine. I mean, your body is getting, your brain is getting signals from your feet, whether you're standing or sitting, you know? So I think that things like, okay, say you're brushing your teeth, you know, maybe you just lift one leg a little bit and you support on the counter and brush your teeth. When you're doing the uppers, stand on your right. When you're doing your lower teeth, stand on the left. You know, it's like a minute each. So you could be working on your balance that way. Can you think of any other ways around the house? Anybody?
When I do my vacuuming, I try to follow the vacuum where I'm not just standing.
Yeah.
He's going.
Which,
Oh my God, this is so funny.
Right, so you're swaying back and forth while you're doing it then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son was not good.
So how do you think you might do some balance while you're sitting, working on your trunk? Anyone have any ideas? It could be as simple as brushing your dog or petting your dog, playing with your dog. You're leaning over, you're, you know, throwing a ball, playing tug of war, something like that. Or it could be doing your laundry. You know, you're sitting at a dining room chair, your laundry basket is on one side, you're stacking baskets on the other side. You're leaning side to side and working on your trunk for sitting balance. So can you think of anything else? I can't have all the answers. So anyway, when you're at home in the kitchen, say you're at your refrigerator and you're holding both the handles or something, if it's, you know, you can stand there and do a little cha-cha-cha a little bit, shift your weight, you know, and then open it, you know. When you're doing dishes, you know, you can put them all up on the counter and then, you know, stack them and then sidestep to get to the cabinet you need. So you're working on your balance that way, side to side balance. Even walking down the hall, pretend you're a tightrope walker. Put your hands on the walls, 1 foot in front of the other. Start with your feet a little close together and eventually go heel to toe. Make it fun. You don't have, it doesn't all have to be sit down and do all these exercises. You just have to be cognizant that, as I'm doing this, I could be working on my balance, so that's kind of how I want you to think. So what about games or having fun? What kind of things could you do with low vision that could be fun for you to incorporate balance skills? Can anyone think of some? I'll give you a hint. Let me give you one. If you liked playing tennis before, and when you're playing games and things with other people, you're definitely going to want to, if you have some vision, work on that with high contrast. So if your walls are light blue, maybe you use a red balloon and you play tennis with your tennis racket, with your grandkids or something. What other kind of things could you do to have fun when people come over?
I like to have dance parties.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a good way to do some basic balance things.
Well, yeah, and if you have a partner at home, or maybe even the grandkids, I don't know, they might be a little wild, but if you have, your spouse is at home and, they have more sight than you do, slow dancing, it's exactly what we're talking about. Turn on some music, have a nice slow dance together. It's working on your balance, it's bringing you close together, and, it's fun. Now, I don't know
Terry,
if
this
it's
is
like
Sandy.
Maddie, but.
Hey, Terry, this is Sandy again.
Yeah.
I am lucky enough to have a pool, attached to my house in Lanai, and I do so much in the pool. Just everything you talked about, the toes,
right.
The heel raising, the arms, and I do a slight jog. And I find, luckily still, I don't have to hold on to the sides of the pool. I still can see well enough to at least, be in the middle of the pool. And if anybody's lucky enough to have a water, it's so much easier. It makes it so much more fun. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. And especially if you have your own pool, you know how deep it is. Get up to waist level and then try some things and work your way up to more shallow. That'll be a way to upgrade the activity. But you know what? If you trip and stumble, what are you going to do? Float, right? Maybe you can play beach volleyball in the pool with your grandkids, And so what if you fall over and get dunked under a little bit? It's fun. So just long as you're safe and you can recover from that, it's something you could still do.
Right.
Anyone else think of something?
I have a suggestion. A lot of people have been telling me that during this time they're using things like ankle weights. Did you already say that?
No.
They're just walking around their house, but they've added, weight. I don't know if that would be a resistance, but weight to their feet.
I mean, it's not a lot of resistance. I mean, depending on how big your weights are, but still, if you wear weights around the house a while and then you take them off and walk around the house, you're stepping a little higher, which is going to reduce, the falls and stuff because you don't need as much muscle to lift just your foot without the weight. So if you've ever done that, it feels weird. It feels like you're walking on marshmallows or something. So it does add a little resistance and gives you a little strength. And balance is, trunk, it's your legs, it's your whole body, really. But if you have weak hips or something like that, doing some of these standing exercises is really going to help with that. But again, I want to caution anybody, if you ever are feeling any pain, it shouldn't hurt to balance, right? So, and it shouldn't hurt when you're stretching. So if you're doing any of those and you're feeling pain, you should stop. And if it doesn't seem to subside, you should need to talk to your doctor. So I just want to make that clear that it should not hurt to do any of this. Anybody play golf? Does anybody play golf? Has anybody played golf in the past?
Yep.
Yes.
So you know what? Put down a putting green down your hallway do some putting. You know, if you have to, you can lean against the wall, you know, but you can work on to up to standing by yourself, and doing some of the things you like to do. Like I said, you know, even volleyball with a balloon, you know, you can do that with the kids. I mean, everybody misses and hits it everywhere, you know, and if you don't have much vision, we've done this before, where you just, you know, you have somebody that's sitting with you and you can play along and they'll say it's right above your head or it's to your left and give you clues and you can swat. I mean, and then just, you know, have fun with it. Laugh at yourself, you know, everything doesn't have to be upsetting. You can just sometimes need to just have a little sense of humor about things and have fun, especially that right now while we're stuck at home and everybody's worrying about things. Turn on the music, go for that pool exercise, things like that. Play with your dogs, your kids, your grandkids. And, you know, if you can throw some balance skills in on all of that, you're going to improve your confidence and allow yourself to consider all the things that you can do, even with your visual impairment. So,
well, you know, if the family comes over or you have friends in or anything else, do some of the old dances, the hokey pokey, the bunny hop, the conga line,
right.
anything like that. And as I say, when you get older, trying to do that stuff, you stand around and you do nothing but laugh at yourself and everybody else.
Exactly. My kids brought up a few things too, as you know, you could roll a ball to the dog or to a kid and have them roll it back. Just get one that you can see against your carpet, or even, you know, the Olympics, they had those ribbons, like a big stick with a ribbon on it, and do some kind of crazy ribbon dance, you know, have fun with it. There's also things like Velcro darts, things like that. Get out the kid toys. They have, you know, they have safety built into them already, most of them. You know, you have a dart board and Velcro balls that just stick to it. So you can have some fun with the kids that way. You know, there's a lot of ways to have fun and be working on these skills at the same time. You know, you want to get engaged and participate with your family and your friends. So just some of the ways to do it. I mean, beanbag toss. I mean, you know, you can put a line of tape that you can see on the floor even and toss something across it. See who can get closest to it, whatever. There's a lot of ways to do things in your home or in your yard, in your pool. Does anybody have any ideas other than some of that were mentioned already?
Well, you've inspired me to get my ankle weights out and start wearing those around the house.
There you go, Maddie. So does anybody have any questions or comments about today's balance session? And I think balance is important, especially if you do want to get into a sport that maybe you've put off, golfing, tennis, anything like, you know, that you could do modified. Is anybody doing any of their activities that they've modified because of their vision, but they still are able to do?
Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing?
Well, I like to cook, and I've had to modify a lot of things, and takes twice as long, but I still manage to do it.
That's right.
How about house cleaning when you're have very low vision?
Hey, I clean house, and if I can't see it, it ain't there. And the cleaning lady comes in every other week, and sometimes she'll tell me, it ain't there, but it took me 5 minutes to clean it up. But, I mean, you can't become, you know, a perfectionist with a lot of things like you could when you could see. But you can't just let things go either. You can feel on the bathroom vanity top or in the kitchen on the counters. If you've cleaned that counter well enough, you can feel the sink in the bathroom or you can feel the shower wall where the tile is to see if it feels like it's rough or slippery, because get the sponge mop out and sponge the wall down. I mean, you have to be aware of the way you did housework before, and you can manage.
And I think Melissa or Kathy did something a while back about being systematic, you know, just like mowing your lawn. You go up one thing, you kind of overlap and come back. You know, you do it systematically to make sure you get everything. Maybe you go, you know, front to back, side to side, and hopefully you get most everything while you're cleaning. But cleaning is a very good exercise.
No, it is. And as I say, a lot of it is feel. You're wiping something down, scrubbing something down with one hand, you're feeling it with the other hand coming, you know, right behind the first one. And
Right.
you can pretty well tell.
Thanks for that.
Terry, I
Anyone?
thought of something else. Oh, did someone want to say something? Sorry.
No, that was me. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought of something else that I've been doing. I have a little vegetable garden, and I have a lot of weeds in my regular gardens. So I do spend a lot of time doing that. And I would imagine even if you're kneeling or sitting, it still is a lot of movement across your body. So it's, you know, I think that would also be balance. And
Oh yeah, and I mean, even if you're sitting on one of those little stools in your garden, I mean, you're reaching. Anytime you're reaching, you're working your trunk. So.
oh, what about unloading the dishwasher?
Oh yeah.
That's an act of balance.
Yeah.
Just getting up when you're kneeling down or sitting down low, just the act of getting up, you know, perpendicular again, that is an exercise that, I mean, beats all.
Well, and that's why I was trying to talk about the way sit to stand. It's the same thing. If you're on your knees, you know, get your feet, get one foot up and use your big muscles in your legs to do most of the work. If you're pulling up with your arms, you're more than likely going to fall. So you want to be pushing with the legs, pushing with the arms, not pulling, because as we get older, our arm strength isn't necessarily what it used to be. So you have to be smart with the body mechanics on how you're doing things.
Yeah, that's what I say, but you've got to practice and you've got to do it at least once a day. Make sure that you get down, even to empty the bottom shelf of the dishwasher or to get something out of the cabinet, and squat down instead of bending over, and make sure then you stand up. And I mean, that is not so tiring or anything else, but you know, there's simple things you can do.
That's right. Anyone else?
Not to do with balancing, but I've got a lot of questions. I need a lot of help of adjusting to living alone with losing so much vision where even going through mail is becoming impossible. And so maybe that's another meeting for another, conversation about adjustments and such. And I also am at the point where I definitely need more training, and I can't wait for this social distancing to end where I can get some instruction from the Lighthouse of independent living skills.
Right, and I think us doing these webinars are trying to get some of the information out there, some of the stuff that you can start working on now, and then when we all get back together, it'll be more hands-on and more, trial and error and practicing with some of the tools we're talking about and finding what works for you.
Well, I've got another question pertaining to also independent living skills as far as when the point of time comes, which I think it could be coming up for me sooner versus to later, of going to school for the blind to learn how to live without sight. I think Daytona Beach, Florida has a school.
Maddie, you want to answer that, or Latricia?
Sure, there is a school in Daytona. Norman, we can talk about that outside of this session.
Okay, great.
But yeah, there's all sorts of resources in our state. That there are specific resources for people who want to work. There's specific resources for people that just want to live independently. There's resources for people that have multiple disabilities. So, you know, and you know, everybody's different. So,
Okay,
we can chat after this meeting. Okay.
that'd be great.
Well, I think if you concentrate on every little thing that you still can do and do that, and you try to put that in the forefront and think, well, I can't do this now. I can't do my mail, but I'm going to work on it. I'm not going to have to do 5 or 6 pieces of mail today. If I get through one piece or only halfway through it, but then you have to know that there's a resource that can help you get through or show you how to manage what you can't do, but concentrate on what you can do.
Thank you for that advice.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in another session too, is, you know, focus on one thing at a time. Don't get overwhelmed with everything you think you can't do, because number one, you could be wrong. You could do something that you think that you never thought you could. So if you continue watching the webinars and getting little tips and tricks, try a few of the things at home. You know, we're not here to just talk at you and all that. We're here to hopefully help you make some small changes until the time we can all get back together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Terry, do you want to tell us a little about what's coming up this week?
Sure. Tomorrow is orientation and mobility. What are you guys talking about in that this week?
Latricia? Oh, you
on
gotta unmute yourself, Latricia. You're still muted. I see your beautiful smile. Oh, here, I'll do it for you. Oh, it won't let me. She's muted forever.
Okay.
Well, I know that she's, sorry, Latricia, we can't hear you. Oh, there you are. Latricia, we can't hear you. All right, well, I know that she said we were talking about gait and posture.
Oh, good.
So
lead out of this one into that one.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
there you are. Okay.
Tomorrow I will be talking about your posture and gait, how to improve those.
Good. And then Friday, it looks like we're having stress management again with meditation. Who's leading that, Maddie? Do we know?
Well, that will be led by me.
You? Good. Okay. And then at 2:15, we have support group again. If you stay on the line after Friday session, and you can will not be recorded, so you can feel free to discuss anything related to the support group. And Is that Pam?
Pam wanted that to be about encouragement.
Okay, good.
So I believe that will be the topic. She's had some really good topics in these past few weeks, and
she has
had a lot of good conversations. So, all right. Thank you
Actually,
for
I
being
was going
here.
to say, sorry, tomorrow's session actually ties into today as it relates to the balance.
All
So
right.
that was kind of cool, just to kind of
that was by accident, huh?
Right, that was perfect, Terry, to kind of piggyback off of Terry's session today, because all of those things definitely go hand in hand.
Great.